is up. Thank you for hitting the button. I'm assuming that's Michelle. And so what I'd like to do now is please ask Michelle, if you're there, would you introduce our guest and we can get started?
Hi, trying to get coordinated here. So I'm introducing Kim Conrow. I've known her for a really long time. She's been a really good friend for Native Plant Society and the Native Prairies Association, and to just people like me. She's a lovely person. I'm just gonna kind of quickly read a bio of Kim so that you don't have to just take my word for it, how awesome she is. She's been in the North Texas area for 50 years. And again, she's the president of Native Plant Society of Texas. She has are you a past president?
Immediate past. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Am I talking to you?
Yeah. And I was like, Kim, help us. So now that she's immediate past president, I'm gonna bring her into Native Prairies so she can help us. So she holds a bachelor's of science degree in biology with minor in chemistry and education from University of North Texas and a master's from Texas Women's University. She's taught high school biology and environmental science. She's a Texas Master Naturalist, a member of the Cross Timbers Master Naturalist. She's served in various positions on various conservation organizations, locally and at the state level. She's done 4 monarch way stations in Tarrant County. I think she's also worked on some outside of the county. And work with the National Wildlife Federation to help the city of Fort Worth with the monarchs, the mayor's monarch pledge. And she gives presentations to various groups like she is tonight. And I want to mention that on February, this already happened, darn, I was hoping I was getting ahead of it. Saturday, February 12th, she presented to the city of Fort Worth, or with a program with the city of Fort Worth. So I'm a couple of days late, but
that's okay. That was part 1. Part 2 is happening this Saturday. And part 2 is on invasive plants.
Perfect. Okay. So, and they can find out about that by going, Google City of Fort Worth, Kim Conrow, and your name will come up.
Probably. That would probably work. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to turn it over to Kim.
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. I have also enjoyed our friendship and look forward to many long years in the prairie and around town. So I guess I need to share my screen. And, host needs to enable me to do this. And still waiting for the ability.
Kate, are you there?
I got it.
I'm here, but I'm not a host, so I can't do it.
See if you can do it now.
I should be sharing my screen. Am I sharing now?
Let's see.
Yes.
Be My Valentine?
Be My
Yes,
Valentine.
I see it.
Okay, thank y'all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. This is a screenshot from Gardening for Wildlife from Facebook. So I wanted to thank y'all for being my Valentine and being here tonight. I am the past president of the Native Plant Society of Texas. So I'll serve 2 more years though, Michelle, as immediate past president. That just started last October. This was a picture of me just before COVID started in Austin at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. I was so excited to start my presidency and so hopeful. And then 2 weeks later, everything shut down. But that's okay, because we found our way through Zoom and alternate ways of communicating. And we found a wonderful place to walk in Benbrook. I was introduced to this wonderful area by a Facebook Live program that Suzanne Tuttle presented to this chapter. So I live in Crowley, and I have driven by this place literally probably 1,000 times in 20 years, and I always thought it was private land. So being a rule follower, I stayed away. But once I learned it was public land and we could walk on it, well, we started last fall. It is a environmentally sensitive area. It's not in this picture. It's, if you look off to the left, the prairie that we walk on is to the left. So there will be some pictures though. If you also looking on the left to the top of this, Rocky Creek Park starts there at the lower back, and you can almost see St. Francis Village. So you can walk all along that edge and end up on Sycamore School Road, which was Old Granbury Road a long time ago. And I want to thank Marty Underwood and the Army Corps of Engineers at Benbrook team for designating this wonderful area as an environmentally sensitive area, because that offers it some protection. So it's in Southwest Fort Worth, and it is the prairie. So it's all about prairies start with grasses. Here you see some really pretty big blue stem in June, and Karina is going to tell us about the big four.
Okay. So these are the big four grasses, and little blue stem is my favorite grass. Big blue stem, Indian grass, and switchgrass. This prairie has all of the big four and more.
Thanks, Karina. So big four and more, it does. Here is a place, this is a photo point that I like to take a lot of pictures at. And you can see in August versus October. I hope you can see the big blue stem in it. There's also Indian grass. And on our prairie walk, there's several swales we go through, or little dips. And this is the first dip that we call the onion dip. And you'll see why in a little while. So we call these our saunters on the prairie, because John Muir liked to saunter rather than hike. And if you've ever been on a walk with a botanist or just someone that loves nature, it's not a fast-paced walk. It's not a hike to get from here to there in a quick amount of time. It's a speed of reverence, I've read, is half a mile an hour. So that might actually be too fast for some people walking on the prairie. But we normally, if we want to get out and walk, we can do the saunter out all the way to the corner of this, starting here at the blue and almost going to the other end and back in an hour. That's 2 miles if we're going fast. So walking has always been a wonderful way to stay healthy. And Hippocrates said walking is man's best medicine. So I want to thank you tonight for coming on these prairie saunters with us. And it's basically just a walk through the seasons on the prairie. It is, as I said, in Southwest Fort Worth, and I believe the near open spaces that the citizens have asked that we have. So we decided to go out in the prairie. We were March, April, May, June, July, 6 months, 7 months into the pandemic, going stir crazy. So out we went. Our friends became family as we explored the area. This is Lisa and Gwen. And we improved, our physical and mental health improved as we went out on the prairie. And I recommend walking out in nature to anyone who wants to improve both their physical and mental health. And we fell in love with the prairie. It's absolutely beautiful habitat. It's a place where you can find solace and comfort and just enjoy life in this most magnificent area. So we decided to, Karina and I redid this talk today, and we decided to start in January. So last January, and we do have this year and last year mixed up a little bit along the way, but that's okay. We took our dogs, Mirabelle, our little, well, we're not sure what she is. She may be a Carolina Singer dog. And then Corey, our Ridgeback, went on most of our walks with us. It did snow last year in January. So the prairie is beautiful in snow. And Lisa actually called and said, we're going to have to go out and walk on the prairie that day. So here's Lisa. And so we went to meet her. And this is not too far up the trail. These are the red stems of the rough leaf dogwood. And as you can see here, they've made a really large thicket. The prairie does need some work. It needs a little bit of cutting back of some things like cedar elm and maybe a little bit of this to maintain prairie, but that's for another day. And so the trails we walk on are also game trails. I'm not much of, I don't know what this is, what kind of bird this is. If anybody knows what kind of bird this is, these tracks, maybe they could put it in the chat. That would be lovely. And so here we have junipers and little blue stem standing out against the snow. And going from the clockwise, from the upper left, we're leaving what we call Prickly Pear Hill and walking down the path into the woods. And when you go through the woods, here on the lower right is a photo point that I like to take. So you'll see this throughout the talk tonight. This is a wonderful place to just, you break out of the woods and then here's the creek. This is probably, there's not a map, there's not a name for it on a map. So I did call the Tarrant Regional Water District, and because there is a water outlet not far from here, and they called it the Sid Richardson Slough. So I guess maybe that's the name of it. We call it the creek. So January, it's a lovely time, beautiful skies, beautiful pink or aurora, that's not what it's called. Look to the sky at dusk. And we've only seen deer twice on the prairie. This was one time last year where we saw deer on the horizon, but we did take the dogs out with us and they alerted us to another wild creature on the prairie. So you never know what you're going to find out there. Can y'all see the deer? And the Indian grass. So if you're going to walk on the prairie, just before sunset is a lovely time when you get the low light and all the grasses and all the dead plants are backlit. So they look really beautiful in the sunlight. It's a little bit hard to capture, but sure is pretty. And this is Indian grass on the left, and on the right is the side oaks chroma. Kurt is checking me, right? Okay. Oh, here's that photo point again, up near the onion dip. So you can see the big blue stem and the Indian grass there. And there's probably a lag between when I change my screen and y'all see it. So I need to keep that in mind. So this was taken this year in January, and it was, I think it was Suzanne said that's it. She likes to see the crescent moon smiling on the prairie like that. So this is a spot near the beginning of the prairie, but it's always just like this when we leave, when we do a late evening walk. So lots of things are overwintering. Here is a egg case for, I guess, a orb weaver, I would guess, if I had to guess. And it's kind of hidden, its little egg case up in those cedar elm leaves. So of course we spot it, but maybe that's protecting it from other things. And then you can see the little, here on the prickly pear is the cochineal insect that makes the dye. So signs of life. And sometimes you can go out and you can hold the moon in your hand on the prairie, as Ray's doing here. This is Ray, my husband. And now we're moving into February. So again, Be My Valentine, a wonderful little thing from Gardening for Wildlife on Facebook. And last year on the prairie, we saw a sundog. It's a atmospheric phenomenon that happens if you have just the right amount of, I think, ice crystals in the cloud, and the sun has to be at just the right angle. And And it did, and we saw it, and it was really exciting because it absolutely looked just like that, like fire in the sky. That doesn't happen very often. If you've seen a sundog, why don't you tell us in the chat if you've ever seen a cool sundog? That would be some fun for us to know. So here's Mirabelle leading us. Mirabelle always has to lead us on her walks. She is not happy unless she's in the lead, and her ears will be up and telling us which way we need to go when she's leading. She's very good to make sure everybody makes turns when we're supposed to go a certain way. She'll stop and look back like a good leader. She's excellent at that. And this was last night. And Mirabelle did that last night, actually, when she led us. Can y'all see the deer on the horizon? I thought that's a really better deer on the horizon picture. So that was last night. And
Yeah, that's great, Kim.
do you like it? Yeah, I liked it too. I actually saw the fresh deer track in the trail, and I'm like, oh, wow, there's deer around here. And then we were leaving, and we had Bill Freiheit and Catherine with us, and they said, oh my gosh, look, there's deer on the horizon. And we're like, it was exciting. We took a lot of pictures, and we finally got one with both their heads up. February, this is what the beast looks like in February. We're back at the creek now. And of course, this is a panoramic, and the creek does curve here, but it's not as dramatic as in this picture. This is a water outlet put in by Tarrant Regional Water District. And the water sources for that are 2 East Texas lakes. I think, oh gosh, I thought about it earlier today, and I had the names of them.
Richland Chambers is one of them. And Cedar Creek, I believe.
That's right.
Okay, that sounds right to me too. So, and the pipes for those are 7 feet in diameter. They can give out a lot of water. And we saw a fisherman here one day, and he said he really likes it when when the water's coming out. For some reason, the fish are better that day. I'm not a fisherman, I don't know. But we were here one day, the water's not running, but when the water does run, those doors just go, and it come up and water gushes out, and it really makes a really pretty strong current downstream going towards the lake in that. You can see Buttonbush here. There's Ray and Mirabelle and Corey off to the side. And this is downstream from the water outlet, which is probably why this bank is kind of eroding. But I really like this picture because you can see what's happening here with the roots and how the tree holds onto the bank. And I'm sure someday that tree is going to fall right into the slough. But I think it'll be a long time from now. Just a little more pictures of the slough. We are finding every once in a while we'll come out and the slough will be covered in algae. You know, it's this is not far from an urban center, so probably runoff from fertilizer and what have you is causing those algal blooms. Anyway, another pretty point on the trail. This side of the fence, the left side that we are on, is Army Corps of Engineer land, which means it's our property, belongs to the people. And on the other side is Sid Richardson, private land. I like to take my neighbors out with me. I got Latasha out to go on a walk. She really liked it. She's a walker. She'll walk 5 miles at a time. I kind of give out after 4, but I'm trying to get stronger. So here's Lisa and Gwen and Ray and Mirabelle and Corey and I enjoy Mirabelle bossing us around and telling us we need to continue walking. And this was last night with Bill and Catherine and the moon and the deer. And now we're going into March. And it feels different. The March will feel different. Now it's really interesting how every season really does start to feel different when you get out frequently in it. So we had this lovely day. Here's blue stem, big blue, little blue stem. And then here's another panoramic of the view. And if you look really hard on the horizon, you can see the neighborhood and apartment buildings. I'm really happy this is left undeveloped. Also, right behind Ray, I don't know if you can tell, but that's white rosinweed right there behind Ray on the ground. So we find lots of remains. This, I generally leave everything. I'm not a collector unless maybe it's an occasional seed, but I like to leave nature in its place. I almost wish I'd picked this one up though, because I'll never find it again. We had kind of gone off trail, which I don't recommend anymore, and I'll tell you why later. But this vertebra was like huge. It was a huge vertebra, and I don't think it was cow. I think it could have been from a bison from a long, long time ago. But unless cows have vertebrae that big, I don't know. Maybe somebody will know, and you can tell me in the chat if a cow would have something that large. And Gwen was a high school senior, and she was very interested in collecting bones. So it wasn't me picking them up, but she would collect every now and then. And we were always very careful to not get cooties, and she would clean them very carefully. Well, here comes March, and we have Spring Herald. This is elbow bush. It's a dioecious plant, so you have male and female flowers on the plants. This is a male plant. If you remember your high school biology, then you can see on the flowers there the little anthers. So they tend to, I've noticed, kind of bloom a little bit before their female flowers, but not much. And they really are wonderful for our early bees, our emerging bees, to have this wonderful cooperative relationship with elbow bush. And there he is, right there off the trail. And then here's a female. So they're kind of greener, and they have pistils with a little stigma on top. So it's sticky, so the pollen from the anthers can get on there. The bees will take them. I recommended this plant Saturday in my talk as a nice cross timbers bush that you can have in your yard. And things start happening in March. On the left is astragalus. On the right there is a 10-petal anemone. And if I had to do this over again, I would label each picture with the exact date. And if I ever have like 8 hours just to sit and do that, I will, to dig that out. And I apologize for not doing that, because it's really different. Like the 1st of March is different from the end of March. 30 days makes a big difference, but this is sometime in March on the prairie. And also here, I hope it, I have to keep remembering there's a lag. So I hope you're seeing the green snake in the tree. Mirabelle was right underneath it, and bless her heart, she never saw it. I was so surprised. And then on the right there is crow's poison, another early spring bloomer. So here we have, I did get the date on this one. Here's the 8th of March on this lovely picture that looks like a painting to me. And then we're going to go into April. So a month later, you can tell it's early spring because the leaves just have that spring color to them. And that center tree doesn't have any leaves, has not leafed out yet at all. So this little rocky area is a nice place. And the little waterfalls, there's 2 little waterfalls just right along there. They're not very big, but they're there. There's also a little place around the corner where I think teenagers have made a fire pit. They like to drink beer there. I know, because they leave their evidence. And then just behind this tree in almost the center that has not leaked out yet, you can almost see a little white of the beast. So the water outlet is right back there. So here we are in April. Downy pink paintbrush is coming out, and For Nerve Daisy. It's a lovely time to be out with your friends. And one day I went out with Bill Freiheit and Marty Underwood, and we saw this. I had like no clue what this was, but Bill knew, and it's called adder's tongue. It's a common name. I won't attempt the scientific name, and it's a fern. So this is a really cool fern, and that oval is probably about the size of a skinny soup spoon. And the reason why this picture is here on the lower left, is because that's where this colony that you find. It's the only place in the whole prairie where we've seen them. So they're in this one spot in this 700-acre prairie. There's probably more, but that's all we've found. And so another reason why it's an environmentally sensitive area. right? It's cool plants. So here's that, this was that day with Marty. Marty's in the middle, and then there's Bill in green, and then my husband right behind Marty. And this was actually in the area that y'all are gonna walk on, next Rocky Creek, the prairie, that's a private prairie. So Marty was with us and he took us on a special tour of that. And there's a bunch of rusty blackhaw viburnum there. So I know that's one of Suzanne's favorite plants. And then of course a four-nerve daisy. Then back to our side of the prairie where we usually walk, and spring. So we have a plant in the prunus, which is probably wild plum, I would guess. And some more downy pink paintbrush with New Jersey tea. That's the common name for this plant that can bloom for many months, but mainly it blooms primarily in the spring. And then on the right behind the downy pink paintbrush is Burlander's sundrops. The bluets come out early in April. This is a nice picture of bluets. And God, you just can't get enough of those downy pink paintbrushes. Aren't they gorgeous? And then these little delicate 5-petal bluets, they last for maybe a week or two and then they're gone. And here come the other spring flowers. So there's a bluet up here with in the upper left with the four-nerve daisy and Gara in the center. In the upper right is prairie parsley, which is the host plant for swallowtail butterflies. And then flanking the picture on both bottom corners is Burlander's sundrop. So that flower is so pretty, it'll fade from this pretty crepe, has the flowers like little crepe paper almost, and then it fades to orange as it ages, so it's lovely. This is Missouri primrose. I'll tell you, Oenothera speciosa, I do have that scientific name down. And it was not very far from this picture of me with the dogs. And now you can see that the tree here that was not leaked out yet is, and this is probably near the end of April. And this picture over here on the other side, that's where the bluets were all out, and they're gone now. Well, there's just a few, I see a few in that picture. And then I also see what looks like that might be the Burlanders. And there's also along right in here a bunch of antelope horn milkweed. It's not really out yet. Oh no, it was out, it was April. Then here's in the forest. This is a mixed use area. There's horseback riders that use this. There are hunters that use this area. There are walkers. There are fishermen. So it's a public use area. I know that the archers, so if you want to go out there and you want to hunt with a bow and arrow, there is a lottery for that. We did meet one out there one day, and we asked him about it. And he said he won the lottery. He was so excited to go out there and hunt with his bow and arrow. And then I'm pretty sure that the hunters have to take a class before they can get licensed that the Corps offers before, but I think they need to talk to them a little bit more about their behavior. But anyway, this is a dewberry. So it's a relative of blackberry, and it is a wonderful food source for animals in the forest. And I love this triptych here. Here's the wild hyacinth, which is come and gone in no time. The wine cup, which is long lasting, it'll bloom for a long time. And then, so the wine cup and the hyacinth are small forbs. And this other here could be a bush or a small tree. It's Ambrosia fruticosa, which is false indigo, is a common name. And if you keep looking at that, the front flower at the bottom, there's actually a bee there. I think it's a honeybee, which maybe somebody at, there's a school, not Southwest Christians, not far from there. There's also St. Francis Village, not far from there. Maybe somebody keeps bees, I don't know. And then here's Jenny Schmidt. Some of y'all may know her. She's our book club friend and Boy Scout friend as well. And she's a hiker. We went 4 miles that day, but she's afraid of snakes. So I like to put this speckled snake here. I think it's a king snake, but I don't know most snakes. If you know what kind of snake it is, let me know in the chat. We'll check it later. And then here is the gorgeous, gorgeous flax. There's blue flax and this orange yellow flax out there, which is so pretty. And all around Jenny right here is Engelmann daisy. So that's another wonderful plant I recommended last Saturday for people to have in their gardens. It makes a nice garden plant, has a deep taproot. It's a perennial. And then we saw these on our walk that day. This is not a very good picture.
Hang on, Kim, it hasn't, there we go. Now it changed finally changed to the monarch picture.
Oh, okay. I'm probably talking too fast. Okay. So did y'all see the Engelmann daisy picture with the snake?
I did not.
I'm going.
did.
You did?
I-
Okay. So I'm
Some
going to go.
did and didn't.
I'm going to go back. I'll probably, maybe I'm moving the slides too fast.
Yeah, I did see that one.
Okay. So this was Jenny with the snake and the flax. And then here we have, is it there now, the monarch?
Yes, it is now.
Okay. I keep forgetting that. I get excited about these and I go too fast. So thank you for telling me. In the middle is a monarch caterpillar, which was really big and unafraid. That caterpillar was just out there in the open, crawling around on the prickly pear, looking probably for a place to pupate. And not very far away from him on the trail was this poor little monarch. You can tell it's a male because he has this little dot there on the hind wing. And he had really been through it. So this is April. This is when they're migrating north. And there's so much antelope horn out here all over this prairie and nectar sources also, that this has got to be a wonderful natural place for the monarchs to reproduce and refresh themselves with nectar. So I'm sure this little fellow down here was on his last legs. He was pretty beat up. But then there's fresh life there. The new monarch was going to continue on. And then of course over here is the antelope horn, which with that beautiful flower, and a carpenter bee. Hope you're seeing a pink, downy pink paintbrush. One of my faves. I just can't resist pictures of that. And you can see we made it to the lake view. So when you get to this point, if you don't have a map my walk or you can't figure out how far you've gone, this is pretty much 2 miles in if you come in from Sycamore School. So if you turn around here and go back, you will have walked 4 miles that day. Suzanne and Lisa keep saying, Kim, you can do the whole 7. Let's do it. And soon I will. So we move into April, end of April, naturally occurring coral honeysuckle. And then the unbelievably beautiful spiderwort. And this spiderwort, these are both really two good plants for your garden. If you're looking for north central cross timbers, native plants for your garden, these are 2 really good choices. The coral honeysuckle and the spiderwort. And the spiderwort can come in different colors naturally as well. So now we're on the antelope horn part of the trail, which is at Prickly Pear Hill. And when we counted that day, you can see Jenny and Lisa there counting. We counted 8 caterpillars, and they were all, if we only count 6 in this picture where you go through and count them. So there's 3 kind of in the lower left quadrant, and then 1 way up in the upper left quadrant, and then go directly across the top to him and then drop down and you see 3 more. So there's 2 more on here. And gosh, there's still a whole lot left of that plant. These plants are huge. I mean, they're big. They've been there a long time. So a beautiful place for monarchs. And just another picture of, on the right, the antelope horn, and then on the left is Barbara's button. That makes a nice plant for your garden as well. And it smells like honey. So this is the one I really wish I had the date on, because this is Prairie Celeste. It's a very ephemeral plant. I was very lucky to see it. And please, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've read, the flowers are only open for a few hours. It's from a bulb. You can see these leaves that have the parallel veins in them. Those go to this flower, and I know the secrets where they're at. So just so excited to see them there. Really made me happy. And now we're in May. So May starts out looking pretty much like April, but then as we move on, and we're starting to get those armada of summer clouds go across the top. Prairie's alive. There's spittlebugs, ladybugs, milkweed bugs. If you look under the milkweed bug, which is the red and black true bug, it's a hemipteran. That's a true bug. That it has, if you look underneath it there's an early instar of a monarch caterpillar. And you know, it's really small because those flower buds are pretty small. So more signs of life. And the view. So here we are up here, not very far from an urban area. You can see on the horizon the houses, suburbia. Let's hope it stays there. This little field here is full of barber's buttons, wine cups, coreopsis, grass. Oh, looks like some penstemon cobia on the corner there. There's agave out here. I hope y'all are seeing the agave now. I haven't seen a lot of it. In fact, I've only seen it in one area. So that's there. And then here's the onion dip. So this is the allium. This is in the first dip that we go through, and this had a little ephemeral stream that probably lasted, oh gosh, it lasted until at least the end of June, which is when we quit walking out there because we didn't, July got too hot. But this is a lovely little area that we call the onion dip, and you can see why. And the cacophony starts. So all kinds of different flowers with wine cups and prayer verbena on your left. And in the center, there's flax and border of daisy. You can see a little daisy, and then gaillardia. And there's a little white flower out there that I have no idea what it is. I need Jeff Quayle or Bill Fryheit to tell me. And then on the right is the downy pink paintbrush, which lasts a very long time in bloom, and larkspur. So when you look the larkspur up, it'll say blue larkspur, blue larkspur. It's not blue on this prairie, it's white. And I have not seen a blue larkspur in any of my years out here. And we kind of have a little wild area around us, and it's always white. Penstemon cobia or cobea. Anyway, beautiful on the prairie. It's called foxglove. It's a common name. Sensitive briar, low growing, kind of vine on the ground. And then I think that one is a clasping coneflower, but I could be wrong on that. And a view. So it's really lovely out there. And this is looking towards Lake Benbrook. And May is when the prickly pear are blooming. I didn't see, I think we only saw yellow flowers. Do you remember any other flowers?
I don't.
Okay. Could be wrong. And then here's the larkspur. So they were really abundant in this one particular area. And, you know, as we were talking earlier before we started the program about how seeds sit around in the ground and just the right conditions, et cetera. And so annuals do seem to, and perennials as well, seem to have different years where they'll flush out and they'll be full, they'll be fabulous. And then next year, somebody else will take their turn, and next year somebody else will. And so I'll be interested to see if we'll have this many larkspurs come this spring. But they were just really breathtaking. So as you see, wine cups, Scutellaria maybe, or Engelmann sage, I'm not sure. Berlander sundrops. What else? Grasses, lots of grasses. Lots of fun walking the dog on the leash, always on a leash. Hey, I'm gonna have to go faster, y'all. We're just in May. Anyway, it rained in May, it rained in May. This is an area with the clasping coneflower here, for sure. And then we couldn't go any further. If you keep walking a little bit further on this way and stand on that one little rise, kind of at the top of that picture, that's the view that you would have. That I said, oh, this is the photo point for where this tree is, and it's, you know, hasn't bloomed out yet. This is probably 10 feet over the level that creek was then. So it had really, really rained a lot. This is getting near the end of May. I can tell because the prairie bishopweed is coming out. And then on the right here is a coreopsis and maybe some kind of little beetle, a coleopteran, and then the sundrop. And then just Mirabelle being our leader. June. You can see the beautiful grass color, a little blue stem, and I think there's big blue stem on the trail, little blue stem on the right, and maybe big blue stem on the left. An old plainsman in the center, or just off center to the left, and then you can start seeing on the far left some of the basket flowers starting. And then there's basket flower. The antelope horn is going to seed, and look what's coming out. The white rosin plant. That's one that's endemic to Texas. I think 15 counties. So it's its whole world population. It's here. And it's out there on this prairie. So here's the wonderful June, full of prairie bishop's weed. And I think florists must have gotten the idea from the prairie on using, gosh, what is that thing? Baby's breath. They use baby's breath in flower arrangements. And surely they must have seen that in nature. That's what nature does, just kind of off the flowers like, oh my gosh, the yellow sundrops look great. Oh, the gaillardia looks great. We're surrounded by it. You know, nature said, well, the purple looks great too. The basket flower looks great. And the wine cups look great. The coreopsis and then the sundrop again. The prairie verbena, the wine cup. They all just look great surrounded by prairie bishop's weed. And here's the rosin flower. It's a wonderful special plant that's out on the prairie. If you've ever touched the leaves of them, they're like paper, very stiff, very hard. These don't grow very tall, maybe 2-3 feet at most. And what, you know, really interesting fact about them, I know I need to hurry because it was just in June, but is that the only the outer flowers on that flower will make seed. Kind of cool. Eustoma, so bluebells. We didn't see a lot of them, but they're there. and grasses. And then gourds. So here's a really pretty gourd. Couldn't tell you what kind. Then that is lemon horsemint. It's a Monarda. Crush the leaves, they smell like lemon. And there are tons and tons of this really pretty prairie rose out there. But they, in June, of course, the roses are blooming in June. They make really pretty hips. I think I have a picture of a really bright red hip later on, but they're very low growing. I don't ever see any that are tall. These are maybe a foot high. And then here, there's one place on Prickly Pear Hill where I saw the standing, no, drawing a blank, blue flower. That's common name. And they're really intensely blue. They really pop out at you when you see them. You can't unsee them because they're, right there in that bush. And they stand up pretty high. And the flowers are 1.5 inches wide. I mean, they're much bigger than the kind of invasive one that pops up in our gardens that I think is from Japan. So what a lovely picture of a basket flower and big blue stem. And here's our old plainsman. And y'all tell me if I'm going too fast. And here's a little video. It's only a minute long. I think we're going to be okay. I love that. Oh, a small intermission for PSA. It's a double-edged sword telling people about this place, because since I've been watching, all kinds of things have been happening since we've been walking out there. There's a lot more trails than there used to be. There's a lot more trash out there. There's a lot more people walking their dogs not on lead, which is scary when you're walking a dog on lead because you're afraid of a fight. And there's a lot of dog poop out there now, which is very upsetting because it's very bad for the environment. So Mirabelle, you can see, does not approve of this behavior. So cigarette butts, gum in trees, trash, hunters leaving their shotgun shells, and the poop. Y'all got to pick that up. So I just wanted to say that, a PSA, because I missed July, August, and September. So we did a pickup when we had that big rain. The rain washed all the trash up. You can see it's on a line. We picked up one day for our anniversary. And then here's where the teenagers like to smoke Marlboros and drink Cokes and what have you. But, they're stupid young people. Adults have no reason to do this. So tell your children, teach your children not to pollute, give a hoot, right? So that was my intermission for July, August, and September. I missed an entire season. I'm very sorry. But now we're in October. And October is a cool month. There's lots going on. I'm going to have to start rushing because I only have 10 more minutes left. So snail seed vine, Eringo. Sorry, I didn't get a better picture of that goldenrod, but there's goldenrod out there. Here's the running little slough water and fall blooming aster. And then here you can see the blue stem moving. There's also this lovely seep muley out there. There's lots of seeps. It's typical limestone shelves and then runouts, and you can see there's just places where, oh my gosh, this plant grows right here and nowhere else. Or maybe, 50 yards down it grows. So it really it changes every 20 feet. Something different, fun is happening. Here's the rose hip from the white rose you saw earlier. And in October, there are orchids out there. They're just really short orchids or lady tresses, and they're beautiful. And now you see that the milkweed is going to seed. This is probably though from a green milkweed looking at those leaves. October is just like October, November, December, really beautiful months to walk out there. The weather's nice. It's not too hot. Obviously, July, August, and September are too hot. I'll try to get out in the morning this year, though. Lots to see. That nice little harvest moon in October. The deer prints. There are several harvester ant mounds out there. So, and they're wonderful species that would feed our horned lizard, but I haven't seen any of those. But there are lots of, well, I know of 3 harvester ant mounds, so it's not really that many. And tarantulas, yay. Cool, fun things for October. Here's a dung beetle. I hope this is not going too fast. A dung beetle. A gay feather. Lots of gay feather out there. The 2-leaf senna. Prairie pitcher plant, Salvia azura, and a hunter. He was the bow hunter. He was the one that told us all about how you had to be in a lottery to get to do that. Then you have old plainsman. This spends most of the year just as a little rosette of long leaves, and then in the fall, man, it pops up and it's tall and it puts out these really lovely little stems with all these beautiful little flowers. We have Eringo, which is everybody's favorite in the fall, and then a fall blooming aster. This was the Native Plant Society. I did a tour for them out here on October 10th. And so you may recognize a lot of these people. I won't say everybody's names, but I think you probably know these people, and you see the slough is really pretty high there. And all those plants back behind them are button bushes. How fun is that? So looks a lot like Penstemon cobia, right? The foxglove from spring, but this is called false foxglove. And it's just lovely. And it has a different growth habit, of course, than the Penstemon cobia from the spring, but the flowers look very similar. That's why it's false foxglove. And now we're getting into November. So this was early November, so had ladies' tresses still out there, and you can see now this is a really good illustration of how big they are, because there's a person, Lisa, in the picture. So we're in November, starting to look like winter's coming, and it is, but it's still a really gorgeous time to walk out on the prairie. And it's fun to try to ID the plants from their dried parts. This is little blue stem in the upper left. And there's lots of wonderful little meadows in the woods. That this one, the dominant flower here looks like broomweed. And I'm not sure what kind of grass this is. I thought it was silver blue stem, but Bill Fryhouse said, no, Kim, that has the seeds are should be at the top for silver blue stem. He thinks there was something else, but we're not sure what it is. So I did ask somebody, but I haven't gotten a reply yet. Maybe Suzanne might know what that is. But in the woods, so there are woods out here, especially as you get closer to the riparian areas, the creeks and then the slough. And most of the dominant tree out there are bur oaks, but the dominant tree is a cedar elm. And there's a little hobo camp. Gosh, I bet all that stuff is 30 years old if it's a day. More bones, vertebra with algae growing on it, and then a nice little lichen in a tree. So no, the colors are muted, but they're beautiful. Gwen and her friend enjoying the waterfall, And then this is looking towards Lake Benbrook with the plant in the foreground is the button bush. So if you're not familiar with that, those little circular brown parts are, I wish I should have put a picture on here of it in bloom. It's a really stunning little spherical flower with all these little shoots. Looks like it's from another planet, and it's great for pollinators. So unfortunately, this little gold grass you see in here is KR blue stem. Probably brought in from the horses is what the theory is. And then here's Lisa. I thought she looked so cute. I won't read this to you because y'all can read, or maybe I will. To make a prairie, it takes a clover and one bee, one clover and one bee, and reverie. And the reverie alone will do if the bees are few. So I thought that fit really well with Lisa. And here is another bush I recommended for people to use in their garden, which is the center here. It's a sumac. It's a trilobata. It's a species. So, wow, what's the genus for that? I can't remember. Anyway, sumac and a four-nerve daisy and a fall blooming aster in the center with the purple and some little yellow flower. I do not know what it is. And cedar elm can be so beautiful. And it backlit sun here on Lisa. And now we're in December. Oh, I won't be too long. We're near the end of the year. So here we are in December with the moon rising. Not as scary as that October moon. Here's Bray on the Prairie. And this is a really pretty little cedar elm. I just love this picture of them in the background. But this tree probably needs to be removed. It's right. You know, if they grow too much, it's going to take over the prairies. It needs some control. Then the Oringo now, you saw it earlier, purple, and the seeds are all gone out of all these. Doesn't that look cool? I think it looks great. Some more seed heads. So upper right, that's Indian grass. Right below that is gay feather, and then something I don't know what, maybe broomweed. And then you can see in here the Oringo in the big picture, the trees, mainly cedar elms, and then blue stem, and then broomweed, and then Oringo. And then if you start walking out here, you may want to get gaiters, or you'll get like junk in your boots. I did end up getting gaiters from REI, and now I have winter gaiters and summer gaiters. So it's, you know, gear. It's fun. Get gear when you have a camelback and yellow backpack. It's fun. And then you get something on your phone to do an activity walk. So then you can see how far you go and where you go and get pictures. Here's when we started at Rocky Creek, and then that little community there in that map. Well, we went 4.5 miles that day. Wow, I was tired. We did the walk from Rocky Creek up. Very different walk. Oh, now we're back by the beast. So went out with this is my husband and son, Ray, husband, son, Adam, and Corey and Mirabelle. And they just all love it. The dogs know when we're going to the park, they get so excited. They jump in the crates in the car. So my friend Reba, dog friend. My friend Suzanne, nature friend. Oh, there's our walk that we did, Suzanne, on the satellite view. And then I told you, this is the same place you saw the Native Plant Society chapter members sitting. It's just a nice place to take pictures. So December too can be very colorful. There's greenbrier, and then in the center top is the Verlander's sundrop seed leaves. And then there's a tuna on a cactus, and we're almost done. There is a cedar elm just covered in lichens. It looks so cool that day. Honey locust. There are lots of honey locusts out there. There's also Hercules Club. Upper right is the rosette of the Engelmann daisies. So in December, nature's planning for spring. And that they do that a lot. You know, a lot of rosettes are out there. Of course, bluebonnet does that too. And then the yellow of the cedar elm, prickly pear hill. And with a then over here, a possum haw in bloom. Those are those cool, I recommend that as well, but don't put it close to your house. You want to put it away because it could be a fire hazard. Anyway, we did a moonlight walk in December. So here's the crew that went with me on the moonlight walk. Ray and Cody and Adam and Rebecca and Lisa. And then we all turned and looked at the moon. This is an iPhone picture. Pretty cool, right? Look, you see stars, and then the light on our faces is moonlight. That was pretty fun walk that night. The skies can be outstanding, sunsets. Like I said, my favorite time to walk is just about dusk and sunset. So December, can say goodbye for the year. We'll be moving to another year, right? And Laura Inglewilder is very inspiring to me here. She says, the real things haven't changed. The prairie doesn't change if we take care of it. It's best to always be honest and truthful to make the most of what we have. So we need to do that in our city, make the most of what we have and try to keep it. And be happy with our simple pleasures of walking is what I like to do. And when things go wrong, have courage. So keep your courage. We can make a difference. So I am now 2 years later, different person. I've gone to the dogs and this is in my backyard. So I live on the Fort Worth Prairie. I have prairie in my backyard. I even have some of those weird gilgai that are long, skinny. Y'all need to come see it. And so thank you very much. I appreciate y'all going on the saunter with me. I hope I didn't go too fast or too slow and that I hope you enjoyed it.
Kim, you timed it perfectly and you kept us all enthralled.
Oh, good.
Your photos are magnificent. There were so many that just that one photo should be framed and put on a wall time and time again. So you did a super job.
Thank you.
And there was a whole crew of people who were minding the chat. As every question was put in, someone very quickly provided a Latin name or a list of trees that were available. So I think you don't even have any homework left over. I think they've covered all of the bases.
How wonderful. Well, very good. Well, let me scan through the chat. Oh, y'all are so sweet. Oh, there's Rachel Sawinski. She came. And look, my moonlight friends came too. Rebecca came. Rebecca Nelson, thanks for coming. Oh, she said it was a lot of fun.
52 people came.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I'm excited. Yay. Thank y'all so much for and on Valentine's. Y'all are the sweetest people on the planet.
That was a super presentation.
Yes, very, very nice, Kim. It's a wonderful prairie.
Thank you. Well, we've got to keep it nice. We have to stay on our, there's enough trails out there now, y'all. You could just stay on the trail and go everywhere you want to and get back to your car within 2 miles. Or 4. But I'm so happy that y'all liked it. It's going out there just puts you, I'm like the dogs. We're going to the prairie. Oh, okay, let me get my stuff. Let's go. It's so much fun.
So, also, Kim, we will give you the recording also saves the chat. So you'll get a copy of the chat.
Okay, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Thank you so much. There's Clarence. Thanks for coming, Clarence. He's talking. We can't hear him.
Oh, very good, Kim. Very good presentation, And if I just had a moment, this place that you photographed here out there is absolutely beautiful. And we need more places like that in the state of Texas. So I would encourage everyone to please contact your congressman regarding recovering America's Wildlife Act. It's pending in the House of Representatives. It is House Bill 2773, and in the Senate, it is Senate Bill 2372. So in the House, it's been voted out of the committee. So I would encourage everyone, contact your local representative in Congress and ask them to vote for this bill. It will mean over $50 million to the state of Texas. and it will be administered by grant program run by Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Clarence. And you know what else? That if you want to see an article about it, if you want those numbers, you can go to the Native Plant Society of Texas website and look under latest news and stories, and there'll be a story on that. And there's my Facebook friend, James Traeger. We're Facebook friends. Hi, James.
Hi, Kim. It was great to hear you, by the way, and sort of meet you.
I know, kind of meet you. You live in Missouri?
Yeah, near St. Louis.
Okay. Oh, it's a pleasure. Now you're Suzanne Tuttle's friend, right?
Actually, I'm Melinda Walters' friend who used to work with Suzanne,
Okay.
but Melinda lives back up here now.
And James knows Ann Mayo too.
I do know Ann Mayo. That's right.
Ant people.
Yeah, thanks for the ant slide. That was great.
Ant people. You know, I just watched the E.O. Wilson documentary on Netflix of Ants and Men. What a stunning documentary. So beautiful. Anyway, it's really nice to see your face and hear your voice, James.
Same here. And nice to meet your family too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's
They're great people. We have, my dogs are my kids, great dogs. Great.
Yeah. I have a little black dog who looks a lot like your little one.
Let's see him.
Let's see if I can get him up in the picture.
Oh, sure enough.
See?
Look at that. They have the same ears. How
This
cute.
is Harvey, the hurricane rescue dog,
Oh,
named for that storm which blew him into our lives.
Oh,
that's-
sweet.
that is sweet.
And there he goes.
There he goes, Harvey. That's a